Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official NFL week number 15 top 10 best bets where I go through my 10 favorite bets here for week number 15. And we begin on Monday Night Football. It is the Eagles traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Seahawks suffering a tough loss to San Francisco, being unable to cover that 10.5 point spread. I do like the Eagles. The storyline this week, can they get back on track? Right now, they're not in first in their division, although they do have a very easy remaining schedule. I do like the Eagles to win this game, hold serve, and cover a 3.5 point spread. I think that's very manageable. The motive this week, the theme, let's not overreact to what happened last week. Yes, the Eagles looked bad. Yes, I did have Dallas to win that game and cover, but I did think it was going to be only a 4-point game. Dallas easily won that game. I think the Eagles get back on track. They cover a 3.5 point road spread. Decent value on them after the loss they suffered last week. Moving on to number 9. It is the Cowboys traveling to take on the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park. I like the under in this game, the under 50.5, based on a few different factors. Number one, that's a relatively high number this day and age in the NFL with the scoring down so much. Also, you've got the situation of Dallas. They're a warm weather dome team traveling into the cold, although it should be in the 40s in this game. Not going to be terrible, but still it's a situation where I expect Dallas to be a little bit out of their element. I am going to have another bet on this game coming up a little bit later, but I do like the under 50.5. Buffalo's another team that seems like they're involved in some low-scoring games, at least recently, especially last week against Kansas City, a game that they won. I like them to win this game 25-17, but 50.5 is just too rich for the weather situation and for a Cowboys team who, let's be honest, they're due for some regression, and they normally play bad on the road against good teams. I will take the under 50.5 in that matchup. Moving on to number 8, the Ravens traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. This is another game I do like the under 43.5. This game taking place on Sunday night. This is a Ravens team, surprisingly scored 37 points, although they needed overtime. I think they're going to get shut down against a good Jaguars defense at home. And then the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, dealing with that nagging injury. Last week they lose to the Browns on the road. It is a good defense. I just see this game being a more defensive battle. And I do like Jacksonville to win at home, so I would take them plus the 3.5 in that one. But overall, I do like the under 43. Moving on to number 7, it is Kansas City traveling to Foxborough to take on the Patriots. Give me Kansas City minus the 10 in this one. This is another situation. Let's not overreact. We understand it was a shocker last Thursday night. Zeke turned back the clock. He had a crazy good game. Bailey Zappi, is he the future of the Patriots? No, of course he's not. Although he can be a serviceable backup quarterback, this is a situation where you're going to see Kansas City, after their loss last week, the Mahomes meltdown, they're going to get back on track. The Patriots have been terrible on offense this entire season outside of last week. They will come back down to earth. Kansas City will win this game. It'll be a rather boring 1 o'clock game there. Could you imagine like this game 5 years ago with Brady versus Mahomes? It's just crazy how different or how fast the NFL changes, but I will take Kansas City there. Moving on to number 6, this is the Thursday night game. So I'm going through like all the primetime games here. This is the Chargers traveling to the Raiders. It has just been announced yesterday that Justin Herbert is out for the year. I'm not saying they're tanking, but I'm sure the Chargers would not mind finishing 5-11, possibly with a top 10 pick, taking on another 5-8 team right now in the Raiders. Both of these teams have the same record, and we did do this last week. We went on the under 30.5, and the game ended up kind of being a shootout, although the scoring definitely slowed down late in that game. This is one we're going in on the under again. It seems like at a certain point, both of these offenses, we saw the Raiders get shut out. Josh Jacobs dealing with the injury. Aiden O'Connell, oh my goodness. Apparently, I believe he has 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions this year. He's a rookie, like 4th, 5th round pick from Purdue. You got a feel for him, but still, that's really bad. And then possibly Easton Stick starting for the Chargers with the injury. It's just going to be a slop game. The NFL cannot like the situation that, is involved here. You do have Vegas sitting -3 in this game. I do like them to cover just because the Chargers are dealing with the injuries. They have a head coach that's a dead man walking. I will take the under 33 in that one. Moving on to number 5, it's the Jets traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The Dolphins blowing the Monday night game after almost covering a bigger spread there. They were up by like 13 late. They end up losing by 1. I do like them to hold serve, win this game. I'm not going to overreact to last week. Yes, it was a bad blown game, but they'll come back against a Jets team. And you might be saying the Jets, they look so good on defense, so good on offense. You know, Garrett Wilson had a really nice game. They crushed CJ Stroud. Again, let's not overreact. This is a similar situation to the New England Patriots. This is an offense that's been terrible the entire year. They had one outlier week last week. They will be bad again this week. Miami will cover this 8.5-point spread. It was 10.5. And then after Miami blew that game, it went down 2 points. There's good value on Miami. They still have an 80% chance to win, which is pretty big in terms of the analytics. And also, they are still trying to battle for that number 1 overall seed. They are 1 game back of Baltimore right now. I've got them winning this game and covering the 8.5 and really getting back on track on defense. Moving on to number 4, it is Denver taking on the Detroit Lions. This is another kind of primetime game, the Saturday night game, because there are 3 Saturday games. Give me the Lions. After their loss last week, they were 3-point favorites. They lose on the road. I critiqued their defense because their defense right now is leaking oil. The Denver Broncos, they did humble me. They did shut me up with their impressive win on the road against the Chargers, but I will take Detroit. They're still a solid team. Yes, they've struggled recently, but they're going to get back on track at home in a rare Saturday night game at Ford Field. Still sitting at 9-4. Very good record. Very good fan base to support them. They win this game. They cover the spread. Denver has been impressive, but I'm still not fully sold on that offense. Not enough explosive plays, in my opinion. I will take Detroit to win that game and cover the 5-point spread. Moving on to number 3. This is a 1 o'clock game, Lambeau Field. It is the Buccaneers traveling to take on the Green Bay Packers. Give me Green Bay. I do wonder, could this potentially swing to -2.5, -3? You'll get Green Bay for a little bit better of a value, but I'm just never bought this Buccaneers team. I really haven't. Coming into this year, I didn't know what to make of them. I thought maybe they were tanking, starting Baker Mayfield. He's kind of a decent quarterback, journeyman at this point. I'm just not buying them. I'm sorry. And Green Bay does have a very solid defense. They're going to be at home. This is a warm weather team traveling to a cold weather environment, and this is one of those blow-up games for me where Green Bay bounces back after the brutal loss on the road. The Monday night game to the Giants, they win this one very easily and cover a 3.5-point spread, even though analytically you can see the analytics actually favor Tampa Bay to cover, with Green Bay with just a 56% chance to win. Moving on to number 2, it is Atlanta traveling to Carolina. I like Carolina to win this game outright. I was in on Carolina last week, and I got crushed. I'm in on them again because this is just such a bad division. Really, when it comes to betting games like this, it's a flip of a coin. Atlanta, they're dealing with their thing with Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson. They obviously need a new quarterback. That is what it is. And then Carolina, they're trying to get Bryce Young more reps. They're trying to get him confidence. They are certainly not trying to lose these games, considering they don't even own their first-round pick. This could be a very, very unfortunate situation where they finish with the worst record, but they don't even have their pick. They just can't win a game. I think they finally get one at home against a bad Atlanta team, even though Atlanta right now, right in the thick of the playoff race, because that division is so horrible. Carolina wins this game outright. They cover the spread 20-16, kind of a lower scoring game. And then moving on to number 1, this is the same game, Dallas taking on Buffalo. I do like the Bills minus the 2.5. It's a very similar setup as last week, where you saw Kansas City almost in a pick'em game against the Bills at home. Everyone thought there's great value on Kansas City. I went with the road team, Buffalo, to win that game outright, and they proved me right, and now I'm going in on Buffalo again, considering Dallas, they don't need this game. Certainly they would love to have it, but it's a situation where Buffalo, sitting at 7-6, every game is very important in terms of the wild card. There are a lot of teams congested with 6 losses. They need this game badly. They're favorites. It's going to be a hostile environment for Dallas, and Dallas can afford to drop a game, although I'm sure they do want to hold on to that lead in the NFC East. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.